Hey, welcome to OSR Garage. We're going to talk about the new federal tax credit that's being proposed right now and how it may affect your next EV purchase. So if you follow the channel, you know that we have a reservation on the Ford Lightning. We also have a reservation on the Fisker Ocean. And now, because of this proposed tax credit, we now have a reservation on the new Chevy Blazer. And I'll get to that here in just a minute. So let's get to this tax credit. Now, there are some good things about this tax credit and there's some bad things about the tax credit. Some things that just need to be adjusted just a little bit. So I'm gonna pop a summary up on the screen and we're gonna go over that summary. Then I'm gonna put the full tax credit with all the weird wording and all that stuff up there, and then we'll go through that because there is some stuff in there that's not in this summary that are important on what we're going to be able to do with these EVs that are coming out. The first thing we're going to start off talking about is the federal tax credit is going to stay at $7,500. And the next part of that is that they eliminated the 200,000 vehicle production limit. They stopped that. That will be gone. And that means that Tesla and GM and now Toyota, I think, was just about ready to hit theirs. They're all going to be available to take advantage of this tax credit. Now, the way that it's worded in here is that it will now be a point of sale instead of a tax credit. And that is huge. That is a big thing, a big plus for everyone. None of us want to have to deal with paying that extra money up front and then getting a tax return. And then it's like, okay, we'll use that money for something else, but you really didn't get the car any cheaper. You still paid the full amount for the car, and now you're just using your tax refund money somewhere else unless you decided to refinance your car, which a lot of times doesn't make sense. Here's where it gets a little iffy, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a good thing, I think, in general for America, but not a good thing in general for consumers that are wanting to purchase vehicles at a lowest price that they possibly can and want to be able to purchase whatever vehicle we want. So the problem with this is going to be is that in order to get the full tax credit, the vehicle has to be manufactured and built in North America. And the majority of the battery components need to come from North America. And certain materials that are in those batteries have to come from countries that we have free trade agreements with. Who is going to monitor all this? How are we going to figure out all this? You know, it's just another issue. I think a lot of that, some of this is going to be changed up a little bit, and it won't be our responsibility to find out whether the battery in this car is eligible for this or that, but there's a breakdown on that in the next part that we're going to get into. Moving on down the list, we got a new federal tax credit for used EVs. That is awesome because there are a lot of people out there that could really benefit from not having to buy gas, but they can't afford a brand new EV. So now they're going to get a tax cut off of the price of their car if they buy a used EV. So that is going to be $4,000, and that's pretty good off of a used car. The disadvantage here is that with the market so high right now, even the used EVs are bringing a higher dollar amount, and this $4,000 tax credit is only going to be available on used cars $25,000 or less. So that's where it's going to be a little harder. You're probably looking around a Nissan Leaf, Chevy Bolt, maybe a Chevy Bolt EUV if somebody's put a lot of miles on it. So that's going to make it a little bit harder. So now there's a price cap on the EVs and whether you get the full amount or not. Electric vans, SUVs, and trucks up to $80,000 qualify. So you want a platinum F150 Lightning, you can, but you're not going to get a tax credit on that. The other thing is electric sedans priced up to $55,000 MSRP. So I don't know how that's going to work out for Tesla. Probably not as good as what people were hoping. The EV tax credit will be available for those individuals filing at $150,000 income or joint filers at $300,000. Now we're going to work our way through some of this mumbo jumbo, and then we're going to start talking about the Ford Lightning, the Fisker Ocean, and the Chevy Blazer and how these are all affected. See on this list here, we got number one, manufacturer caps are eliminated. That's that 200,000 car cap. That is off the table now. So you don't have to worry about that. Manufacturers can produce as many as they want to, and you always have that tax credit available as long as it fits the rest of this criteria. The credit applies for vehicles purchased at the beginning of January 1st, 2023. So this does not go into effect until next year. The current tax credit is still available for those cars that have a purchase agreement throughout the end of this year. Here's the thing we talked about a little bit ago. The vehicle must be assembled in North America to qualify for the new credit. Luckily, Volkswagen has started up the Tennessee plant, so they're going to be produced in the US, so they will still be involved in this. For any of the other vehicles that are built across seas and come over, you will not be able to use this tax credit on those. The North American assembly requirement applies to vehicles sold after the date of adoption of the bill. Basically that means if you purchase it after January 1st of next year, then it doesn't qualify if it comes from across seas. Now the $7,500 this is how this credit is broke down. Now not only does the vehicle have to be built in the United States, the actual credit is broken into two parts on the battery itself. So if your car is built here, that's fine and good. You don't get like partial credit for that. But your battery is broken into two segments where you do get partial credit for one or the other. If you get them both together and your car is built in the United States, then you get the full $7,500. So this is broken into two different things on the battery. $3,750 of the credit is based on the vehicle having at least 40% of its battery critical minerals from the United States or countries that we have a free trade agreement with. The other $3,750 of the new credit is based on at least 50% of the battery components of the vehicle coming from the United States or countries with a free trade agreement. Basically what they want is half of the battery to basically be from the United States. You know, minerals, how it's put together, things like that. They want half of it to come from the United States. And I don't really have too much of a problem with that because that's trying to manufacture our own stuff and we're purchasing stuff made in the United States. So I do agree and I see where they're going with this. But there's more to it. 40% mineral requirement increases to 50% in 2024, 60% in 2025. Basically, it increases by 10% all the way up until 2027, where 80% of the battery minerals have to be from the United States. The 50% battery component requirement increases to 60% in 2024. Basically the same thing. It's going up about 10% every 2 years until it hits 100% in 2029. Now, for all of these minerals and all this stuff that's supposed to be coming from the US or coming from somewhere else or free trade stuff, the government has until the end of the year to develop a guidance on the battery requirements. Basically telling all the manufacturers, this is what has to be in your battery starting in 2023 for your consumers to be able to use that tax credit to purchase your vehicles. There might be some revamping inside of some of these manufacturers on where they're getting their battery stuff, how they're getting them, where they're being built, all that stuff. It's going to stir the pot hugely. I think there's going to be probably some changes, but it's really going to make a huge difference on things. Because what we're trying to do is lower the cost of battery production. and the cost of the batteries that are going in the cars. And this seems like it might actually raise the price because it's going to make minerals and stuff tighter, because we're trying to pull it all from here and not from somewhere else. Beginning in 2025, any vehicle with battery minerals or components from a foreign entity of concern are excluded from the tax credits. Let's say a foreign entity of concern may be, let's say, China. And I believe that's where cattle makes their batteries. If you buy a vehicle in 2025 that has a cattle battery in it and it came from China, your car is immediately exempt from the tax credit. So of course it's going to stay with the 1 credit per vehicle. Only one person can claim the tax credit on that vehicle. So that basically means either you or the dealership will be able to claim that tax credit. Now, if it's point of sale, the dealership is going to claim that tax credit. They're going to send it through. They're going to take it off of your MSRP, and that's what you'll pay for it. The modified gross income limit of $150,000 for an individual or $300,000 for joint filers, which we discussed earlier. MSRP for a van, truck, or SUV has to be $80,000 or less, and $55,000 or less for all other vehicles. My question, though, on this is, what is considered an SUV? And traditionally, a crossover was made on a car platform just a little bit larger. The SUVs were basically built on a truck platform, like an Excursion or something like that, a large Suburban. But now we've had so many of these little in-between crossover, small SUV type things that it's hard to figure out, are they going to consider that an SUV or is it not going to be considered an SUV? Because if you look at it, our Bronco Sport that we had was considered an SUV. But the Volkswagen ID4 that we have, is that considered an SUV? In most theories, people would think, no, that's not an SUV. That is a large crossover. So we need some more details on what is going to be considered as an SUV and what's not, because some of the price points on these cars that I'm going to talk about here in just a second, you will be priced out of getting the top of the line. Will be just, you can't do it because it'll be over that $55,000 mark. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think these type of vehicles are all going to be thrown into that SUV category. And it's just going to be the 4-door car sedan type vehicles that are the $55,000, but we'll have to see. So then the dealer can apply at the time of sale the tax credit onto your MSRP, and they must show you the MSRP price, where you've got your tax credit, and what the adjusted price is going to be. Here is the other huge thing that we slightly mentioned a little bit earlier, the used vehicle tax credit. Now this is huge. I am excited for this. I am glad this is thrown in there, and I really hope this helps a lot of people out and helps more EV adoption happen. So the tax credit is going to be 30% of the value of the used EV with a $4,000 cap. Okay, so then the used vehicle must be at least 2 model years old at the time of sale. So 2022, it would have to be a 2020 or older. So then it just says, the original use of the vehicle must have occurred with an individual other than the person claiming the used tax credit. So basically, if you own it already and are using it, you can't claim the tax credit. Only the person that's purchasing it from you or from the dealership can do it. Used vehicle must be purchased from a dealer. So you can't buy an EV from a person off the street or, whatever. You have to do it from a dealership to get that tax credit. Now, the reason that I think that they put this in here, and this is something that Tom Malogny kind of hinted on, was that way you don't basically end up working a deal where you get a free car. So like, let's say I sold my car to my wife and she claimed a $4,000 tax credit. Then she sold it to my stepson and then he claimed a $4,000 tax credit. And then I bought it back from my stepson and I claim a $4,000 tax credit. Well, there is $12,000 now that we've all gotten back from one car, just circling it around. So to prevent that type of thing from happening, because we are smart, we're smart Americans, that is something that we would all figure out how to do very, very quickly. Of course, right there, Tom figured it out in about 30 seconds and was just like, apparently somebody thought about it already. So that won't happen. You have to buy the car at a dealer, and then the dealer will send in the $4,000 tax credit. And the purchaser must be an individual. It cannot be a business. Purchaser may only claim one used vehicle credit per 3 years. The modified gross income cap on that will be $75,000 for individuals and $150,000 for joint filers. The credit may be applied at the time of sale by the dealer. So the dealer can submit that for you. So you won't have to worry about it. It will be point of sale off the price of the car. So $25,000 car, you'll get it for $21,000. So here's where we're going to get into how it affects the Ford Lightning, the Fisker Ocean, and the Chevy Blazer. First off, we're going to talk about the Ford Lightning for 2023. Still has not opened their ordering banks, and this is the latest info that I got off the F150 Lightning forum. It says the order banks for the model year 2023 Lightnings will open on August 10th. That was a little bit later than expected. I think originally everybody thought the ordering banks were going to be opening up around July 18th, but now this is what we're seeing is August 10th. The model year 2023 scheduling begins on the 4th. So I'm a little confused of why the ordering banks are going to open after the scheduling begins. The only thing I can think is that they have a lot of 2022 models that have been ordered but have not been built, and they need to schedule those as model year 2023s before they start in on the people that are ordering the 2023. So some people have not got theirs yet, are probably going to be pushed into the 2023s. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot of information in there. We haven't seen any information on any new colors, any new options for the truck. I'd like to see some new options. I'd like to see some more driver assistance options offered on the lower trims. My biggest thing is adaptive cruise. I don't understand why we can't have adaptive cruise over all trim levels, but apparently we can't. Other than that, that's all the information I got about that. As soon as I am ready to order and I get the invitation to go on and order mine, I am planning to make a video of that and show that all to you guys, how that process goes through. Tax credit really doesn't have too much effect on the Ford Lightning itself, other than the fact that it will be point of sale in 2023 if this goes through, which will be great. I don't have any doubt that that part of it is going to go through. I believe it will go through without any problems. It's just the whole thing about the batteries and some stuff like that, of stuff being built in the US, that is going to probably get a little more fine-tuning. Here is the big problem, and so like I said, I have a reservation for Ford Lightning that I will be ordering, and I will bring that to you guys and show that to you guys. I also have a reservation on a Fisker Ocean. Here's the problem with that. According to this new tax credit bill, Fisker Ocean will not be part of this tax credit because it's being built in Austria, and the batteries are coming from cattle, so they're going to be built in China, I believe. So basically none of the car is eligible for any type of tax credit First off, just because it's built outside North America. So that is another thing we need to talk about real quick. North America, Mexico is part of North America. I had to look it up just to make sure, but Mexico is part of North America. Any vehicles built in Mexico do qualify, which is a good thing for Chevy. So the Fisker Ocean. This is why I now have a reservation on the Chevy Blazer, because I love the Fisker Ocean. I would love to have a Fisker Ocean. I own stock in Fisker. I will continue to own stock in Fisker and will continue to purchase stock in Fisker because I believe in Fisker and I believe in that vehicle. The problem is, without the tax credit, we are not in a position to spend, especially for the extreme, $70,000. We are really not, without a tax credit, in the position to purchase the Ultra at $50,000. It's just the way things are right now. We are, if the tax credit was available, then yeah, we are able to do the Ultra without any major issue. The Extreme is still going to be a stretch because we're going to be having the Lightning coming. The Lightning is going to be the first thing we get. So we have to manage our finances just like everyone else. But so I can't just do things for the channel. I have to do things financially for my family also. The reason that I went ahead and put a reservation on the Chevy Blazer is because I didn't want to wait until we find out that all of a sudden now the Fisker, everybody knows the Fisker Ocean is not getting the tax credit. How many people are going to cancel their reservations on the Fisker Ocean and jump ship to the next best EV that they can probably reserve and get in about the same amount of time? Which one is that? That's going to be the Chevy Blazer. Chevy Blazer is supposed to start production in the middle of next year, which is about the same time frame that the Fisker Oceans were going to be really starting to be delivered into the United States. So I didn't want to wait and then now wait too long and be at the back end of the Chevy Blazer route if that's the way we end up going. Now, if something changes where this is what I think needs to change, what needs to be changed is I'm all for American companies, American products, all of that. Fisker is an American company. They just don't have the funds to build a manufacturing plant or purchase a manufacturing plant at the moment in the United States. Their best agreement was to have them built in Austria by Magna and then brought over. Things could change. You're wanting things to be from America, then support the American companies. Not all of them will be able to purchase and buy everything in the United States right away to get their business going. It's essentially would cut off a lot of companies if they had to do that. They just couldn't afford it. They'd be pushed 5 years down the road while they kept trying to build funds and earn money and bring in all these investors and stuff like that. It would take years for them to do that. So I think what they need to do is any startup American companies that are going to produce cars like Fisker, they give them a certain number of years to get the production into the United States. New car manufacturers, startups, however you want to word it, should get 3 years. 3 years to get their manufacturing process started in the United States. 3 years would give them time to build a manufacturing plant or purchase a manufacturing plant and start getting it developed and ready to start producing vehicles here. That is why we have a reservation on the Blazer. The other part of the Blazer is that point on with it and the Fisker Ocean are going to be very similar. The RS version will be coming in around 52, and it will definitely qualify for the tax credit, even though they are being built in Mexico. I hope that clears some things up for you guys. You can check out these two videos up here, and I will see you later.